Hey folks, I'm going to try something here that has just occurred to me in starting um, chapter 2. Um, and that is, I've always puzzled over why he brings this um, excerpt from Faust into the philosophy of freedom at this point. Um, it's always seemed more like a mood setting kind of poetic move that I might have done writing papers in college as a sort of dyed-in-the-wool American romantic. But there's more going on here, I think. And I think it might be helpful to give a counterpose um, in order to make an attempt to shed the prejudices that are so prevalent in our day about what uh, science and the evolution, let's say, the science of evolution is providing us. I'm not making a statement of whether the conventional picture of evolution is accurate or inaccurate. It's more of a thought experiment to clear the deck. So I'm going to present a low resolution picture uh, of a riff that a rather substantial thinker who is an acquaintance that I've had some opportunity to have interaction with, which explains both sides of the Goethe quote. Let's say from the conventional evolutionary standpoint. So, first of all, the fundamental desire that he's establishing is important, but it's only one part of this. That's what I've always thought, that he used the quote, besides the sort of mood setting, to establish that there's a fundamental desire in us. But with all of the prevalent, ubiquitous, I would say, descriptions of evolution from a linear, simple cell organism to exponential mutations and adaptations through the natural selective process leading to human beings, say, through the primates, for example. With all of that as sort of a almost given picture, I think it's helpful to do the riff, see where that riff goes. So I guess I'll just get to it. So Daniel will say something like, there was a point in human evolution when coming out of the worldview of animism, that nature was sacred and that animals were sacred, and there was ritual associated with sacred rituals associated with survival, I guess, was just to flatten out that agency. And that there was a time that the ox was yoked, and agriculture started, and that was the beginnings of a sort of arms race, which altered the worldview, that the religious outlook on life that helped people negotiate life, ripped it out of the matriarchal picture, because only men could have the upper body strength to yoke the walk behind the ox and control the plow and beat it all day, and that this process then eliminated animism and the matriarchy from the main thrust of survival. And then you can just follow that into the exponential arms race of then storing food and the technologies associated with gathering and storing and food. And then this goes up into in a sort of cartoonish description, sort of South Parkian description, into something like capitalism in the aggregating and hoarding and the exploitation of nature, and that this is an evolutionary technological arms race, and that and that is our heritage. So that's the first part of the two parts of the Goethean urge, say, or demiurge, or whatever you might call it. And then the other part is then seeing through that lens into the sciences of the day in order to understand what it is we see around us and negotiate that which we see, and have firm ground for utilizing and understanding our world, or understanding our world to utilize it, or something like that. And this is all somewhat inevitable through the evolutionary process, and that some of the thinkers here are suggesting that we have to sort of go meta on this process, and in order to overcome it. And I think there's great ideas. I think it's a wonderful field of inquiry with this evolutionary model at its base. But let's say that it weren't true, none of it, as relates to that which drives evolution. So let's say that rather than this desire being an exaptation of a biological, physiological process that's rooted deep in the animal mind, say, that we are, and I think this is intimated in Riddles of Philosophy, and somewhat revealed, I would suggest, but for this purpose, it's going to be just another thought experiment and model. So say we are beings who can remember our previous incarnations as individuals, and that process of individuation is something that we experience because we remember it. And so there's the first part of the urge to know our glorious origins, say, something like that. And then say that those incarnations of human individuals and the collective human reincarnative process is accumulated in the world around us today, and it that the aspects of ourselves are in the unified form of the natural world around us, in isomorphic forms in the realms of nature, from the mineral to the plant to the animal realms, and that we are somehow in simultaneity, in participation. There's aspects of ourselves that are a sort of a distillate that we are increasingly involved in through the individuation process. And so then that picture is not the fundamental urge, is an exaptation of an animal brain function, say, or endocrine function, or whatever cascade that happens between neurological and hormonal interactions, but that we are actually the uh, of the process of origins, of the originating of life, and that includes how life is originating now, but also how we originated um, from something other than what is described from conventional evolutionary biology as the primordial soup of sorts, um, or from physics and its origins with the Big Bang theory. Say we have been participants all along, and that of course we would, as we've individuated, become beings who are deeply interested in um, picking up where we left off and understanding, um, remembering where we came from. And so I'm going to leave this at the doorstep of the conversation that then ensues as relates to the ways of knowing through revelation, through artistic device, and through thinking and scientific inquiry. But I think for me, it's a helpful exercise in clearing the decks, in not having by giving a counterpose to the ubiquitous evolutionary model that is brilliantly described. And not only is it brilliantly described, but it's when it's described well, which I didn't do. It's described in ways that give you some real existential um, um, experiences associated with the story. It's um, from um, from feelings of alienation and awe, and uh, uh, it seems to make sense as relates to how things are organized, and so there's a feeling of some sort of sound footing um, that we can um, confront life with and bolster our processes with, and understand health and disease with, for example. So anyway, this was a one first pass attempt. I might look at it and try again later.